of Deontay Nash. The defense, I still feel like they're grasping at straws, to be quite honest. They basically tried to show examples of when Diddy showed concern for Cassie. They tried to break down like the events of Cassie's 29th birthday, what exactly happened. When Diddy flew hotel. One of the things they tried to highlight was force Cassie to go to the that when she voluntarily packed her bag, she voluntarily she got back to the hotel with over here Diddy saying you can't do this one thing for me, and he witnessed Diddy in the corner in Cassie's face pointing at her aggressively. They also tried to kind of attack Deontay's credibility, but it was an epic fail. um, they basically tried to allude to you know they went on Vegas and they party together and ultimately in that room trip or whatever, and Cassie went to Deontay and said, hey, you gotta leave because I have a guy coming over. And he said he reluctantly left. He like sighed because he said he was tired. They were partying, they were doing DRUGS's all night, so he didn't really want to leave. And so from there Deontay went on to pack up like all her wardrobe and things like that, and Cassie and Diddy flew out to Mexico. Now, Cassie texted him through this time, and they did show it in exhibits. And Deontay asked her, "Hey, are you having a good time?" And so she was just like, I would rather work. I didn't really even want to go on this trip, or whatever." And he said, "Girl, you always on vacation and stuff like that." And she also mentioned that she was like, "Yeah, Diddy is mad at me, of course, or whatever." But eventually in the text messages she alluded to like, hey, as long as he gets what he wants, he's happy. But the defense tried to use this as an effort to say, she tried to show that at times Cassie and Diddy did have good times or whatever. Then also the defense questioned Deontay about her, how he felt about her safety, and he said he was always concerned about her safety. But at the end of the day, it's only but so much Deontay could do, right? Because Cassie's grown. If she chooses to go with him, it's only but so much Deontay can do. Then they tried to question him about when he overheard Diddy telling and threatening Cassie about leaking the sex tapes, and they questioned him about, him talking to Cassie and saying let him release them or whatever, and they discussed. Cassie said, "Hey, it's only me on the tapes. It's not him on the tapes or whatever," and yeah, they tried to like debunk his whole testimony, and I just really feel like they're grasping at straws. They didn't really even do a good job. I feel like Deontay was solid, but he was definitely ready to go. Okay, he was so happy when the questioning was over. We'll get into more details later when I go live, but Mia is on the stand currently, and let me tell you, she came in hot. Trying to find a place I could go so I could get my notebook out. She came in hot. Now, her presence on the stand right now, she comes off as very timid. She comes off as very nervous. It doesn't really seem like she wants to be here. Like, well, who would, right? Okay. I'm coming right here. So Mia worked for Diddy as a personal assistant, and then later on she became director of development and acquisitions for Revolt Films. Okay, now a little bit of background. Mia always wanted to do like short films, storytelling, and comedy, and so she on a whim moved to New York with just a mattress, hoping that she could get some job opportunities. Okay. Then the AUSA asked her what was the work environment like working for Diddy. She said it was chaotic, toxic, exciting at times. She said the highs were high and the lows were low. She said Diddy had tons of mood swings, and he was also violent towards her. And so the AUSA asked her what were some examples of violence. She said he would throw things at her, which we know he has a pattern of doing this. We saw on the Cassie video where he threw a vase. It's also was testimony that he threw apples at Gina Hahn. Okay. This guy loves to throw things. She also said he threw her against the wall. Um, at one point in time, he poured an ice bucket on her. He slammed her arm into a door. And also, at this point, she said Diddy SA'd her more than once. Okay, so that was damning. But she's worked for other people. Her first job was with George Chapman at the Marquesa. Oops. Sorry, I'm dropping stuff. My hands are full, guys. Okay, I'm trying to get all the tea out for you while we're on break. She also worked for Mike Myers as a personal assistant. She worked for Diddy from 2009 to 2017. She was about 25 or 26 years old. The AUSA discussed the interview process with her, and she had to go through a rigorous interview process, several interviews with several people in different departments. So when she was finally hired, she said she was so excited. She was nervous, but she was ambitious at that point in time, you know? And she was happy for the opportunity. So her first day of work, she went to Diddy's apartment and he answered the door. He was on the phone and he was in his underwear. She was accompanied by the head of HR at that time. Eventually, he did put clothes on, but he also had one of the stylists there. And so then the AUSA asked her, you know, what were like the work hours you were expected to work? She was like, she was expected to work a lot. 24/7 at this point. She was asked her salary. She was hired at a base salary of 55,000. She said after she started working, it went down to 50,000. I mean, where do you work where they can just lower your salary like that? But she was under the expectation that when she was hired, the first 2 weeks she would not see Diddy. He was supposed to be out of town and stuff like that. She was instructed to go to his Alpine, New Jersey home. And there she took inventory of everything that was there. She stayed there all day. And then she went back to the office. And about 10 p.m. she was heading home. But then they called her back to Diddy's studio. She was there until 1 p.m. the next day. She only went home for a few hours and then she was called back. So, you know, there's no real like boundaries. Like, do I work 9 to 5 or whatever? I'm telling you, these personal assistants, they do a whole lot for a little bit of money. She said she did not sleep for like the first 5 days. She went without sleep. And then they asked her, how did she stay up? And she said she had ADHD. She had been diagnosed with it. And hey, everybody. And so she took Adderall, the extended version. Hey, Uda, it's heating up. So that medication will allow her to stay awake. But ultimately, from her being deprived of sleep and everything, she ultimately had like a nervous breakdown. She said she had blurred vision. She started crying hysterically. And finally, Diddy told her to go home and sleep at that point. You think? Ciao. Please thumbs up the video, you guys. We out here, boots on the ground. I'm getting you live content. Shout out to the replay game. So then they went through her duties as a personal assistant. And so the AUSA pulled up an exhibit of an email. Mia stated that at that point, Diddy had asked what she did all day. So she felt the need to formulate this email. And she felt like it was like a threatening tactic. Like, It's not enough that you have me working 24/7. Then you're gonna turn around and ask me what what do I do all day for you? So they went through some of her basic duties. She was in charge of handling Diddy's social media presence. She was the main liaison between P. Diddy and Hollywood. She was responsible for his daily routine, keeping him on schedule and protect him at all costs, whether it be personal or business. She was instructed to stay attached to her BlackBerry and stay in his sight at all times. I mean, this is just speaking to his controlling nature and how controlling he is, even under the work environment. And she was supposed to anticipate all his needs, his wins, his moods. And so then the AUSA asked her, like, what did it mean to know about his moods? And she said that kind of dictated what kind of day they would have. She said Diddy can ask her to do 17,000 things in one day, from cracking his knuckles to doing his taxes. She said her roommates that she had in New York City would joke with her and call her a ghost because she was never home. So then from 2009 to 2010, it looks like they moved to LA. At that point, she stayed at Diddy's LA home. And then in 2013, that's when they moved to his home in Miami and Star Island. She would stay in his guest homes. She found out when she got there that she was not allowed to leave Diddy's homes. She needed his permission. And how she found that out was, she said one day everybody was sleeping and she felt like she had the chance to finally like meet up with some friends and have some time to herself. And she was contacted by Diddy's security, and they were like, Diddy told us to come find you, all right? And so she said she got in trouble for leaving the premises. So she was not allowed to leave. Like, this is what you call forced labor. Please thumbs up the video. She also was not allowed to lock her door at all because Diddy said it was his house and no one was allowed to lock the doors. At that time, it was just her and his security, Uncle Paulie, D-Rock's name is coming up, Roger Bonds, and Rue. She stayed next to their quarters, but they were allowed to lock their doors. The AUSA questioned her and said, how many assistants did Diddy have? And she said normally he has 4 to 5 assistants. And let me tell you guys, Diddy go through assistants like changing your underwear every day. But he has such a strenuous working and toxic work environment. I'm sure it's a high turnover and people quit. And he has a tendency to be disrespectful. So at one point in time, Mia was the only assistant, okay? And Diddy kind of gave her a pep talk. That's how she described it. Like, hey, I can only trust you. You're my second brain. And she said it was hard being his only assistant. Then later on, they brought on Sienna and Neil as personal assistants and Kayla. But the dynamic shift. She felt like she was doing the brunt of the work. And if Neil, Sienna, or Kayla dropped the ball on the task, she would get in trouble for it. So it kind of was like she was like a head assistant without the title. But she said she could never get time for herself. And part of the punishments that she would endure, he would curse her out, humiliate her, berate her, threaten her job. So we heard that from other assistants as well. He's known for throwing out those threats. Please thumbs up the video, like the video, share it out. And then they went through a whole nother list of personal assistants that were hired after Mia or during her duration. George Kaplan, Ryan Lopez, Eli Maroon. And ultimately, Mia was Diddy's personal assistant for 4 years before he promoted her to director of development for Revolt Films, and that was in 2013. She said the transition happened because she begged Diddy. He had been promising for years, but she finally begged for it, and he gave it to her. And she said she was so relieved because that was her dream. That was the field she wanted to be in, and her salary then bumped up to 70,000 as base plus bonuses. But she said she rarely got her bonuses. All right, but she was responsible for. Let me see. For different project finding projects for investment, coming up with new films, and then she still had to do her personal assistant duties. So that's just a little recap, you guys, of this morning. Thumbs up this video. We live at the P Diddy trial. Testimony is very detailed. There's still, I feel like the prosecution is showing how it was a toxic work environment. They're also highlighting how controlling Diddy was. And then with Deontay, I feel like they showed how Diddy controlled Cassie, whether they had good times or not. I mean, that's a relationship. You have ups and downs, right? But that doesn't discredit like her being forced into these freak offs. Diddy, Cassie could have agreed to 5 freak offs. When she said no on the 6th time, he should have respected that. But one thing Deontay highlighted is how persuasive Diddy was, how he always would persuade Cassie to get his way. And so, the defense tried to show like different examples of when Diddy was concerned for Cassie. They also pulled up text messages between him and Deontay, because even after Deontay stopped working for Diddy, he still remained in touch. They highlighted how when he lost Kim Porter, he reached out, and when Andre Harrell passed away, he reached out. But in that text message about Andre Harrell, he said, Ninja, I ain't fucking with you. And Diddy said, he was like, the trainer? Really? Talking about Cassie being with Alex Fine, the trainer now. And he said, oh, is she okay though? And Deontay kind of nixed it. Like, nigga, I'm going to always be here for you. I got love for you. I just want to make sure you're okay because I know you're experiencing all of this loss. All right? So the defense tried to use these messages trying to say that Diddy was still concerned even after they weren't together. But you see, he highlighted that Alex Fine, the trainer, Cassie was involved with him. Basically telling Deontay, like, I know. You know what I mean? All right, you guys. So that's my little recap. I'm about to go upstairs. We were at recess for 10 minutes. Lots going on. But I'm looking forward to more of Mia's testimony. She came in hot. So I love you all. Please make sure y'all thumbs up the video. And the next time I'll be live is when we go to lunch. Mwah. Ciao.